So, first Patreon request video. This should be interesting. Now, the reason I'm so excited about this is because when you're watching media or any kind of content, you generally have to have a pull towards that content because consuming media is a time commitment, especially when it comes to things like reading books or watching TV shows. It takes a lot of time. So sometimes if you see something, you think, is it really worth it? But the great thing about doing Patreon request videos is that people are going to give me things that I normally wouldn't look twice at. And I am really, really happy to report that the first Patreon request comes from Spaceman Spiff, Nightwing tier. Thank you for requesting Lovecraft Country, which is something I wouldn't ordinarily be interested in. And since that's the case, I've been wondering how to structure this video. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to answer 4 key questions. What is Lovecraft Country, according to me? Is it good? Do I like it? Will I continue watching it? So the impression I got from the trailer is that this is about a black family living in, I wasn't sure, either the 50s or 60s, very racially charged, dangerous time period for black people. And they have some connection to a secret society involving Lovecraft or Lovecraft's monsters. And they have to travel across the country to find the secret society and become a part of it, even though people don't want them there. That's what I thought when I saw the trailer. And this is why I'm really excited about doing Patreon request videos, because this isn't something I would normally gravitate towards. I like period dramas, and I have a fondness for horror and weird stuff, but this isn't a time period that would interest me. I've never really been that big a fan of Lovecraft, so I would have just passed this over. But let's start with question 1. What is Lovecraft Country? So it starts off with a young soldier suddenly ending up on a battlefield where all Lovecraft's very recognisable monsters are wreaking havoc. And my first thought was, this is not what I expected. So you've got the huge tripod things, you've got Cthulhu, you've got the Red Woman from Mars, and I'm just sitting there looking at it thinking, what? And it was kind of when he started talking to the Red Woman from Mars that I thought, it's a dream. Of course it's a dream, but you had me there. And then for most of the rest of the movie, it is just this young man and his family drama. He gets back home, he reconnects with his uncle, he finds out his father is missing, which apparently isn't unusual for this guy, and he finds a letter from his father saying that you have a legacy that has been denied you. So he, his uncle, and his friend Letitia have to travel across country to find the father and find out what this mystery is all about. And most of the first episode is just them traveling, getting into very dangerous, period-defining problems. And I felt discomfort, but the good kind of discomfort, watching that and saying, good grief, just good grief. And at the end of the episode, they are suddenly attacked by Lovecraft's monsters, and they arrive at the house where I'm assuming the secret society is, and are invited inside, the member, butler, whoever, proclaiming that they've been waiting for them. So, is it good? Yes, it's very good. I thought it was really clever how they opened with the dream sequence. Normally you say dream sequences are a cop-out. In this case, I thought it was really important because when we got to the end, we already have the indication that these monsters exist in this universe and are a part of this story. So it didn't just come out of nowhere, and it was shocking more than eye-roll inducing. If it weren't for the dream sequence, I would have just said, where did these monsters come from? I thought we were watching a period drama. And they handled the racial situations this family get into really well. And really, it didn't shock me in the sense that they were happening, because I obviously knew this is how race relations worked back then, but there were some things that just took me aback. Like, for example, they get into a car chase and a shootout with people who don't appreciate black people patronising their restaurant, and that was tension-inducing enough, but when they get to a safe place and get to Letitia's uncle's house, I think it is, they're all sitting around the table laughing about it. And so they treat these situations with the gravity they deserve in the moment. But the fact that they're so blasé about it afterwards kind of makes you think, yeah, I mean, this is the kind of shit they deal with on a daily basis. And it's just come to the point where they're not saying, oh God, I'm running for my life, someone is shooting at me, help me, I'm traumatized. They're just saying, oh, this shit again. And that was kind of shocking, but also appropriate. And again, I thought it was really clever to bookend the episode with Lovecraft's monsters, so that we know they exist and they're shocking for us to see. Now, as for the characters, which are the thing I'm usually the most interested in, at first I thought they did a little bit of bad characterization, because when they go into the restaurant, which is obviously a white-owned restaurant in a white neighbourhood, Uncle George is saying, no, we have a right to be here as much as anyone else. And Tick, Atticus, the main character, basically says, this is going to cause trouble, we shouldn't be here, let's just leave. And George is again saying, no. And he's standing his ground. But then later on, when they get stopped by the police, George is the one with the clear head and the pragmatism and the, yes, officer, we're just here, officer, we're travelling, officer, we're not causing any trouble here. And Atticus is the one who's like raring to go at this police officer, just getting angry with the way he's treated. And I thought, is Atticus the forceful one? Is George the cautious one? Or is it the other way around? But then I started to think about it a little bit more, and I thought this perfectly encapsulates the generational divide. You've got the older guy, George, who goes into the restaurant and says, no, I'm a respectable man. I deserve to eat in a respectable establishment like everyone else. Whereas Atticus, a young man, a young veteran no less, more takes the side of, I'm not going to go looking for trouble, but if you get in my face. So when I started to think about that a little bit more, I thought it was incredibly good characterization. Did I like it? Yes, I really, really enjoyed it. But there was a big problem, and this is the thing that really keeps me from watching a lot of TV shows these days, because TV shows take a huge time commitment. And a lot of shows these days don't tell their story in an appropriate amount of time. I've always gone by the phrase, brevity is the soul of wit. You are a really good and effective writer if you can get your point across in as little time as possible. And I really, really thought that this 1 hour and 10 minute episode could have probably been 45 minutes, because I was really invested in the middle and I was really invested in the end. But when they're kind of like hanging around their hometown, I thought that was dragging a bit. So it took me longer to get into the episode than it ordinarily would have, did they use their establishing time a little bit more efficiently. One thing I'm worried about is that it's not only going to overstay its welcome in the length of the episodes, but in the number of episodes. Because with my media, I like to get in and get out. Or I like to go in, go away and then come back. Whereas again, with today's modern TV shows, they're usually the equivalent of a really, really long movie. So you kind of feel like you have to hang around until it's finished. But I liked almost everything else about it. The only problem I had with it was the length. And one thing I really, really loved was the last, 15 minutes. Because we had the opening dream, we had the family travelling across country, and we're starting to get comfortable. We're thinking, yes, it's a period drama, dealing with a lot of race issues, a lot of prejudice, good storytelling. We're dealing with this family and all its dynamics. And then all of a sudden, the cop gets his arm bit off and I'm back to, what? But yeah, another thing I really loved was that cop. I mean, you had the crazy rednecks who were just chasing them with the guns, but that cop, he was like a cat playing catch and release with a mouse. He was like, I got you, and I'm going to let you go. And I've got you again, and I'm going to let you go. But now I've got you, and I'm going to eat you now. And that just came off as really sinister. And I was actually not sad that he died. I was happy that he died. But that is the kind of character that would be so interesting to explore, like that mindset of, I have power over these people and I am going to use that power to make myself feel better and more superior. And now on to the final question. Will I continue watching it? Yes, I will. I won't be binge watching the whole thing, but I am interested in the story. For me, when it comes to horror, the scariest things out there are humans. Horror films where humans are the movie monsters are the ones that really scare me, because now, I used to live in Japan, and I have a lot of Japanese friends, and some of them are into Japanese horror cinema, and I have never really found any of it scary, because I don't believe that spirits and ghosts don't exist. I'm very open to the possibility that they do, but unlike my Japanese friends where spirits and spirituality is a big part of people's lives, for me, I know there's bad humans out there. I know serial killers exist. I know Nazis exist. I know that the worst of humanity is out there waiting to be given a chance to do their worst. So I never gravitated towards Lovecraft because I never thought monsters were scary. And if you go on Tumblr, monsters aren't scary, they're fuckable. We live in a weird time. But what I liked about this was, yeah, the Lovecraft monsters are out there, but we spent most of our time confronting the worst of humanity. And that's what made the episode very interesting for me. I'm not all that interested in the secret society stuff. I'm sure there will be some interesting elements to it, but it's not what impressed me the most about the show. So yes, I will continue watching it. I'll see if I can watch it on UK TV, because the first episode I used my VPN to go on HBO's website and watch the first episode, but you have to sign up to watch the rest of them. One thing I thought that wasn't done well and could have been done better was the introduction to the characters, in the sense that it took me until I was about 25-30 minutes in before I knew who all the characters were. So I don't know if I just missed people talking to each other and addressing each other by their names and familial relations, but it took me a while to say, like, this guy, who is he? Is that his dad? No, it's not his dad because his dad sent him a letter. No, it's his uncle. I don't know if it was just me, but I thought the setup of the characters could have been done a little bit better. Like, the entire first half hour of the episode could have been condensed and done a lot more efficiently. So will I keep watching? Yes, I definitely will. I don't think I'll be reviewing each episode individually, but if I have anything to say about it when the series is over, I may make a video on it. So thank you again to Spaceman Spiff who gave me this recommendation. It was definitely worth the watch. And if anyone else has a request they'd like me to fulfill, please visit my Patreon page. That's in the description box below. You can get things like early access to videos, Patreon-only content, votes on content, and higher level tiers can even request videos from me. Thank you so much for joining me. I definitely recommend Lovecraft Country. Thank you once again, Spaceman Spiff, for recommending it to me, and I will see you in the next video.